Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for this kind of special bonus STC Florida chapter meeting, Leadership and Volunteerism, how STC can help your career. Julie and I are going to be co-presenting, so we're looking forward to sharing a bit about ourselves, our experience, and our community, and how hopefully we can help you, grow in your career as a technical communicator. So I will remember to introduce myself because I'm notorious for just talking and not doing so. My name is Bethany Aguad. I'm the STC Florida chapter president, current volunteer program coordinator, FTC president. John asked me which years. I couldn't remember. It's hard to keep track. I've graduated from UCF with my BA and MA in English Technical Communication. From early in my career, it was my goal to move from being an individual contributor to being in management. And last fall, my dream was achieved. I'm working as a technical documentation manager at a startup called Silent 8. So I have one person working for me right now, but potentially hiring more this year if all goes well. So I started out as a mentee mainly because I was asked and I had no idea what to do after I graduated beyond I would like a job and I would like to be paid and have health insurance and other large dreams for a millennial. So ever since then I moved into being a mentor. That's how Julia and I met. I was her mentor, though now I would say it's at that point where Julia teaches me more than I teach her. And as I said, I'm currently the Florida chapter president. So just a little bit about my STC journey. I definitely started in a place where I had confidence in my grades because they told me I was doing well, but not so much in myself and my skills. And I didn't know how to build from my academic experience to being successful in the profession. I've hopped from job to job since I graduated, and I've only been out of work, I think 1 month was the longest. And part of that's due to my STC contacts and my experience, and also a little bit of luck. So I'm always happy to share what I've learned from this experience and how it could help other people as well. All right, and I'll hand it to Julia to introduce herself.
Hey everyone, I'm Julia Southwick. I use she, her pronouns. I also graduated from UCF with a BA in English Technical Communication. I'm currently working at JHT as a technical writer, and I joined the mentoring program as Bethany's mentee in 2019. It was also when I entered STC Florida chapter. I've had a lovely time here, and I don't plan on leaving. You can't make me, I'm staying.
No, sorry, go ahead. I was gonna say we have to share the
No,
long
go ahead.
running joke that once again we have good representation of names starting with J. So if you're looking to join a rebellion or a coup or something like that, Julia has not shared that she wants to usurp my position as president, but I'm totally open to it. So we'll see what happens.
And for the sake of the recording, this is in fact a joke.
It is. It's a long running joke.
Yep, we have fun with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I started as a mentor this past fall.
Mm-hmm.
It was fall, right?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
2022.
Fall. And having a good time with that. I am also the chapter vice president, communications chair, and newsletter editor. I've also got all of those titles in my LinkedIn, which I'm going to put in the chat because volunteer work is definitely something I have found helpful on LinkedIn to just get my name out there a bit.
Yeah, and thank you for pointing that out, Julia. We'll definitely be going into like some of the benefits of volunteer activities, but having things to share on LinkedIn is certainly one of them. So a bit about STC, just for the quick overview. The Society for Technical Communication is the world's largest and oldest professional association dedicated to our profession. We have members that are academics, students, managers, leaders, really all different levels of experience and industries across the globe. So while we are the Florida community, we connect with people from lots of other parts of the world and the US. So the society has geographic chapters and also special interest groups. And the Florida chapter is one of the geographic chapters. So you might hear us say throughout this chapter or community, those are both ways that we describe ourselves. The special interest group includes things like if you're really interested in technical editing or agile development. There are other groups if you want to see, what are people talking about in those specific facets or aspects of technical communication. So lots of information on stc.org. I'll make sure to put lots of links in the chat where applicable, but we'll try not to bombard you. I will also remember to put my LinkedIn now that Julia's leading by example. Thank you, Julia. Just a quick bit about the Florida chapter. Our chapter was founded in 1977. We've had a few different names over time. There were multiple communities in Florida at different points, but now we serve not just Central Florida, where we began, but beyond. We have always had really close ties to the University of Central Florida, and we have monthly educational chapter meetings, networking, and then sometimes, bonus events like this. And we're always looking to have fellowship and opportunities to chat with other like-minded people. Before the call started with the recording, we were talking about how we think we're effortlessly cool and no one can tell us otherwise, because we enjoy our conversations and always have a good time. So Julie's going to tell us a little bit about why you might actively volunteer.
Sure. Some reasons are job quality, leadership skills, career resources, recognition, and community. And I do have a couple notes about that I got from one of our, I think one of our oldest chapter members. Is that correct, Bethany?
I believe currently WC is our longest running active chapter member for the Florida chapter.
And that is what I meant, but I couldn't find the right word. Thanks for getting that for me.
Of course.
So job quality, you've got a job. Is it the one you want to keep? If not, maybe we can help you. Leadership skills, afraid to speak? Do you have management potential? Where else are you going to practice? We'll help you. Career resources, have you got a better plan for learning what you didn't know you need to know? We can definitely help you there. I have had a lot of help from Bethany in that respect and hope to pass that on to my current mentee as well. Recognition, your company may not seem to care. They might care, but you never know. So how do you demonstrate your accomplishments as a communicator? We can definitely help you there. For example, with our memo to members newsletter, which we'll talk more about in another slide. Professional friendships. You're going to find friends you'll laugh and share professional experiences with for the next 40 years, maybe more. We'll see.
Some of us have not made it to 40 years yet on the earth, but we aspire to such heights. So yeah, looking forward to it, because I certainly would say that I've made connections with people that I wouldn't have met if I hadn't gotten the opportunity to work with them here, because so often otherwise our only technical communication friends are people from school and then people we've worked with directly. So it's great to have those opportunities to build those, personal connections. And also we like each other a lot, I think. Overall, we like hanging out. We like talking. So just a quick benefits of STC membership. There's, some things we're going to mention along the way. We did not intend this as a hard sales pitch, but just wanted to say there's things like volunteer opportunities beyond our chapter, eligibility for honors. So you might have heard recently that one of our chapter leaders, Alex Garcia, was recently made STC Associate Fellow, which is something he's been working towards for some time, which is a recognition of not just his contributions to STC, but to the technical communication profession at large. So it's great to see that kind of recognition when sometimes it can be challenging to find that on the job. It's nice to be validated that what you're doing is inherently valuable and worthy of the respect of your peers. Some other more practical things they have: a job bank, educational offerings like certification, webinars, and courses. And they have publications that are used to be entirely print, but now you can get digitally, like Technical Communication and Intercom. From our chapter, you'll definitely be hearing a little about the mentoring program and our leadership development program. We also do, oh no, I typo, reduced meeting fees. Ah, shoot. Okay, sorry, I've called attention to it. I should have said it was an intentional error as a test, but now you all know. We have reduced meeting fees for chapter members. We also do local remote job postings, since we know originally our jobs used to all be in Central Florida, but one of the wonderful things about being a technical communicator is getting to work anywhere across the world. We also do lots of networking with a ton of communicators locally, state of Florida, and beyond. We're always happy to connect with people like, Lori Meyer, one of our chapter members, who always joins us from California, and we're always happy to see her. So just a little bit about some opportunities to grow with STC Florida. For students, we have the mentoring program. We have tons of information on that on our chapter website, but I just want to highlight that we generally have targeted students, but that program has also been open to new grads and people who are in career transition. So coming to technical communication from a different professional background. We also have leadership development program. So that's for people who want to volunteer and build their leadership skills alongside an active community leader. So Julia and John have both been actively involved in moving from volunteers as students to then becoming chapter leaders through that program. They also put up with me, which I'm very grateful for. And I think that's been a great opportunity for me as a leader to learn as well, because we've been actively redefining what leadership looks like in our community, which we'll talk about in an upcoming slide. We also have our administrative council. So that's for volunteers who want to see how we could chapter business, share ideas, and contribute to what our community looks like, because we don't see that as something that's static and unchanging, but something we can nurture, invest in, and grow. So we're always looking for new ideas and new energy. And now I'm going to give it to Julia to explain why I just said administrative council.
Usually we just say ADCO, but that can be confusing to people who have never heard the term before. I was one of them. So here we are defining. Administrative Council is ADCO. It's the elected directors, community chairs, and other volunteers. We meet monthly on the second Tuesday of the month to carry out chapter business, decide our program planning, and all sorts of other stuff that I currently can't
Yeah.
remember, but it's all important.
Oh, well,
And
sometimes what's going on in the news, ChatGPT, who's
and
making career moves.
yeah, and of course, anyone is welcome to join, even if just to observe.
Absolutely. We'll have the date for that on an upcoming slide. So we want to talk a little bit about leadership qualities in our community. So I've mentioned that leadership development program, which was set up by Mike Murray and Dan Voss, two of our longstanding chapter leaders who developed not just a program for how to match what I think we're calling rising stars and coaches, people who are looking to learn, people who are looking to share leadership experience. And since that, we've kind of adapted their framework and kind of refined between Julia and I and the other ADCO members what we think leadership looks like in our community. Part of this is to reflect what we feel is maybe some historical challenges, not just with our community, but with leadership more broadly, which was seen as all leaders reflecting a certain ideal of strength and assertiveness and charisma, none of which are negative things, but we felt might be a little exclusive of different styles of leadership, especially with many of us identifying as introverted leaders, where we very much want to contribute and shape a vision and hone our leadership skills, but do it in a way that feels in keeping with our personality. So to that end, we did revise our leadership development qualities. And I will share a link in case you want to read up more on those. We have a full list there, but we've identified those as collaboration, compassion, courage, creativity, flexibility, and wisdom, knowing that at no point are we ever complete, and we'll have 10 out of 10 on all of these qualities. There is no scoring system, but more these are the sort of qualities we're looking to develop, not just in people who are coming in new as leaders, but in ourselves as we grow as individuals, because I've mentioned we don't want to remain static. We're always looking to improve. And Julia's going to tell us a little bit about leadership skills.
This is a continuation of the revitalization of the leadership development program and just specifying what skills we hope to nurture in ourselves as leaders and in others. Those can also be found in, I believe, that same link that Bethany put in chat. So just going over them quickly. Delegation, inspirational ability, listening skills, long-term planning, prioritization, problem solving, team building, and time management.
And I want to say a special thanks to Julia for doing a lot of work to help redefine these terms and definitions. She was coming in as a chapter leader because I think she's brought a great perspective to what leadership can look like. And also, we've had a lot of discussions how many people as leaders, we all struggle with imposter syndrome, right? Am I doing this right? Is there a right way to do this? So we've been trying to reinforce that there isn't a one way or a right answer, but it's more of a holistic way for us all to grow. So we mentioned W.C. Weiss, who is an STC fellow and longstanding chapter member who's been very involved with our volunteer efforts for, I think, more than 30 years. He'll correct me if he sees the recording. So he shared some principles of volunteerism that are kind of guiding for our community and things that we keep in mind, which is if nobody wants to do it, maybe it doesn't need to be done. We shouldn't be forcing lots of brutal volunteer effort that's going to burn people out if it's not, something that's revitalizing and energizing the community. But show that you're having fun. I don't think this is a hard one. I think we tend to have a good time in our meetings. Maybe it's just me, but I've always enjoyed every meeting I've attended. My cat, maybe not so much. She picks and chooses, but she always shows up. We also have in here to avoid burnout, maybe 1 or 2 years for officers. And this is something we have been challenged with because sometimes some of us step into a leadership role and not that as I said, I'm totally open to Julia staging a coup and taking over as chapter president. But we definitely have room to improve here and bringing in new leaders. So that's why I was really excited that John started as our chapter secretary just a few months ago. So he's a new leader in that role. We have help every volunteer give the gifts that are easy for them to give. We all have different strengths and things that we enjoy doing. I like working with spreadsheets and planning and scheduling. I would say I'm perfect at it, but I enjoy it. And the flip side, I'm so grateful that Julia manages communications because there's so much work there that she makes it look easy, just because she's made it her own. And it's great to see that we get a chance to play to our strengths, but also, work on things that might be weaknesses and build them up. And then WC's last one, you can't have enough awards. We're definitely always trying to do better with our recognitions. So I don't have a lot here on the active membership program, but we could always include a link. Julia is showing off her active membership shirt, one of our recognitions. Thank you. Thank you, Julia, for chapter members. Oh, John's given us some kudos. Thank you, John. That's what you would say if you were part of the coup to take over my presidency. It's all part of the joke. So anyway, just want to share for these things because we you kind of get out what you put in for STC volunteerism, but also we're not just seeing this as an opportunity to harvest your time and your skills and burn you out into a husk of a human being. This should be something that's mutually beneficial for you and for the community, however you end up engaging with our chapter. So another quick thing on motivating our volunteers. This one's from Dan Voss. He called it the VI approach because Dan Voss has historically loved an acronym. So to motivate volunteers, we want them to feel valued by the group, important to the outcome, and effective in their tasks. Again, always room to improve here. I would not say we do this perfectly, but at least in my role as president, I've certainly strived to achieve this by providing support and encouragement, advice, and sometimes responding to reminders to follow up on my part of things. Julia's been really good at keeping me accountable and moving things forward. But we know that what keeps us part of this community is not just a sense of obligation, but a feeling that we're building something together and that we're all part of the success and that we're solving problems and that we're growing, not just as ourselves, but as a community together. So I think it's important for us to keep those things in mind. So Julie's going to talk a little bit about some volunteer roles.
We have elected roles, which are an annual commitment, and committee roles, which are a lot more flexible. The elected roles are our directors, the president, vice president, secretary, treasurer, and directors at large. For our committees, we have communications, employment, recognitions, membership, and the website committee. We'll go into detail in some slides coming up.
So just wanted to highlight some key open positions. We currently do have our main chapter officers open, but I do want to say if anyone is interested in specifically in leadership, we are looking for directors at large for next year. So I'll highlight some of what that looks like on an upcoming slide, like Julia mentioned. But from the committee side, we have been actively looking for an employment chair and a membership chair. So for the employment chair, this is a role that's often been defined largely by the person who occupies it. So it's a chance to connect with recruiters who reach out to either chapter leaders or just our community broadly, help them connect with people who are looking for jobs. It's one of those roles that I think can be really rewarding. I know for me, I've always been so fulfilled by helping connect someone with an opportunity that furthers their goals in their career. So if there's something you'd be interested in, definitely let us know. And then for membership chair, this is one that I would say was very different in pre-COVID times, where it was more about like making sure people signed in and doing some hospitality when we had in-person meetings. But now that we're virtual, we're always trying to look for new ways to help build our community. Yeah, I know if you've seen the Future Technical Communicators Student Club's amazing Discord that John has put together, I am in awe of how what an active hub that is for student engagement. And not saying we're going to copy you, John, but we're looking for ways that we can help people feel connected outside of our meetings. So if you have a passion for sort of virtual community building, that would be a great fit, because we're looking for someone with ideas and energy and how and that we can help support and turn into reality. So that's just my quick pitch on a couple open positions. All right. So I wanted to put some ideas of, as we said, this is not just about us recruiting volunteers and talking about leadership, but how this can help your career. So I put what I think are some common career goals that we hear expressed from people who are joining our chapter or joining our meetings, and how that could map to a potential volunteer role. So a lot of people are looking, especially new, to learn more about technical communication broadly, and build some portfolio items. The communications committee is a great opportunity to do that. You get to do research on topics of interest. Julia, I will say, of course I'm biased, but Julia is wonderful to work with for putting together something written. And it gives you a great writing sample that's available online, searchable, that you can link to your portfolio, whether that's a website or if something you said by email, or you can even link to it on your LinkedIn, which is a great place to bring together your different experience, volunteer and otherwise. Always trying to encourage people, since LinkedIn has become one of the places to find and be found when it comes to employment. For building knowledge and practical skills, especially for people who are looking for a career change or some sort of transition. Just being part of our administrative council is great to see different aspects of not just how we do our work as a community, but how we do our work as technical communicators. We do a lot of sharing about different ways of working, and can always address things if there's particular skills you're looking to build, writing, editing, tools, that sort of thing. Of course, our leadership development program is great for people who are looking to build their leadership skills. This is something that I think is one of the most valuable things to me for STC. Like I said at the introduction, I always wanted to move into management, but I was really finding a challenge in my career with most management opportunities being offered to people who had management experience, sort of creating a catch-22 where you needed to be a manager to become a manager. I wouldn't say that's entirely true at all times, but I had not been so lucky as to have an opportunity for natural career progression. So getting to be part of STC and build my leadership skills as a community leader and a volunteer, and my confidence, honestly, as well, helped me pivot to a management job without having that direct career experience already on my resume. So I cannot say it enough how valuable that has been. For mentoring, especially for students, this is usually a great opportunity to build your resume, also your portfolio, and prepare or conduct a job search. I know that can be really intimidating. I will say it's been different level of intimidation at different times. I was graduating around the time of the financial collapse of 2008, so that was my generation's challenge. Now we've had some pandemic challenges and of course major changes in staffing in the tech sector. So I know having support, not just practically, but from a morale perspective, is really important for people who are looking to begin that search. And then I put in here a membership chair if you're looking to grow your network and invest in a community. So if you're wanting to connect with more people, because I don't want to say that that's the only way to find jobs. It's not, but it really does help to be connected to people who can give you a leg up, give you advice, make sure your resume gets seen if you're looking for a job, or even if you're not actively looking, help you, see if there's things that might be a great fit for you down the road or skills that you want to build. So having those human connections is really important, especially as we worry about the rise of ChatGPT automating. We still have to be connected to other humans at this point. So I broke it down a little bit further on what you can learn, because I think these are the main topics that we see come up that are valuable skills. Some of these mapped to, as you probably might remember, are leadership skills, and also things that people are looking to build. Many of these can be very challenging, either on the job or in school. So, or they don't come naturally to some of us. Not to speak for everyone, but I would not say I was a natural at networking, finding that I was like, how would you begin talking to people if you don't know them? Yeah, it's great to have a way to just be able to approach people or be introduced. So I just want to break down a little bit of what we thought this might be helpful. So this is not saying that you can only learn these skills in the roles that are mapped in the table, but that these are sort of a guide to show what you might be able to focus on in those roles. So for our directors, leadership and planning are really key, and for planning both tactical and strategic. What are we doing right now? What do we need to do in the future? Presentation skills. We always present community or committee reports and updates in that meeting. And like I said before, we definitely share our tech comm knowledge, what's going on in the profession, what's going on in our careers, what can we learn from each other. For the committee chairs, I kind of broke it down a little bit further. So all of our chairs get the opportunity to learn leadership. Members, maybe less so leadership, but still they get the chance to see how those committees are managed. All of those learn planning at different levels. And for tools, definitely website. We have a WordPress site, and we have some other automation and things set up for communication. So that's a chance to learn what's going on kind of under the hood for some of those roles. For networking, I put membership. Again, we all do networking, but membership is probably the best chance to connect with people as your primary responsibility. So that's something to bear in mind. Presenting, I put that for everything. Everybody learns how to present. I wanted to highlight specifically because I know sometimes that can be a challenge. I think the personality types that are often drawn to technical communication are not also drawn to public speaking. And more broadly outside of our field, it is like one of the number one fears of many people to have to do public speaking. I would say when I first started, I would completely freeze up. And my greatest fear was having my mind go totally blank and then looking at my hands and trying to figure out what to do with them while presenting. I still am not the best presenter. I always am learning and getting better, but my STC presentations have certainly helped. For job search, being the employment chair is a great thing to have on your resume, and also a great opportunity to connect with recruiters and hiring managers and say, I'm the employment chair for the STC Florida chapter. Can you tell me about opportunities? So it's also just a way to have an in and a way to start a conversation. And again, like I said, for tech comm knowledge, communication. So being part of the people who are writing and translating our knowledge into our newsletter, which gets shared with our community, is a great place to be. I won't go too much into mentoring and leadership because I think I've talked about those a good bit, but you can see kind of there where we think the natural skills align. But I didn't want to include one additional, not exactly a role, but an opportunity to be a presenter. Julie, as our chapter vice president, is our program planner, and we like to give some time on our calendar to have local, chapter members do presentations. So whether that's on their own or as panelists, because we do a lot of panels with multiple presenters, it's a chance to have that in your portfolio, and in your toolkit that you've given a presentation for a community, and to build your skills with planning a presentation and giving it live, as it were. So if that's something that you want to particularly focus on, even if the other roles are not a good fit for you, I know Julia would love to have a conversation about what kind of presentation or panel might be a good fit for you in coming chapter months. And now you get a break from me, and I'm going to take a drink of water while Julia talks to you about some potential projects in our chapter.
Sure. The first one here is write for memo to members. If you want to write for us, but you're not sure what to write, check out the ideas page. The link is in the chat for you. You can also email me at newsletter@stc-orlando.org to let me know you're interested or what you want to write. You can join our ADCO meetings if you want to just see how we run the meeting, what we're doing in the upcoming month, what chapter business exactly is, how the chapter works. I mentioned this earlier, but it's on the second Tuesday of the month. We'll send you an invite through Google Calendar and meet here on Zoom. We do have a project that is kind of lurking in our peripheral of, we know we need to revise policies and procedures, but we just never quite get there. If that sounds like an interesting project for you, we would love to have some help with it. And it's a great item for your portfolio too. We also have the member outreach communications, such as reaching out through social media, creating a community server. We currently have a Slack, but we don't use it as much as we would like to, or we could try Discord. FTC has had great success with it, so I personally like to see that. I just don't have the bandwidth right now. We also have a MailChimp, which we could potentially help you learn a little bit about.
Thanks, Julia. Sorry, I thought I switched the slide, but I was just looking at it for a second. So just to kind of highlight again what we think are positive volunteer outcomes as part of being involved with our community, whether in leadership or other volunteer roles, opportunity to explore and improve your career prospects in a supportive environment, to build your resume and your network, develop skills, knowledge, and experience. That was certainly one of the big ones for me, where I felt like I would have been much more limited if I had only used my degree and the jobs I started with. To tackle unique challenges, we've highlighted a few of those here, things that we're looking to do better and looking for ideas on how to do so. Find personal fulfillment is one that maybe I haven't spoken to enough in this presentation, but I mean, I think I've been in STC for 12 years now since I was a student. And I think it's a very meaningful part of my life, especially being involved as a mentor after being a mentee and now a chapter leader, being able to not just see my own personal growth, but to contribute to the growth of others is something that I find incredibly rewarding. And I realize I'm like getting emotional, so I won't go too much further because I have almost cried on a presentation before. But beyond the personal side of things, to receive recognition for your achievements, we try to do a good job of thanking and recognizing people who have put in their time and effort and talent into making our community successful. So we don't want you to think that anything you do would go unappreciated.
Here's some of the upcoming events. We do a monthly networking, which is the second Tuesday of the month, as opposed to ADCO, which is the second Thursday. The networking is free, anyone can come, and we'll just chat about TechCom or any pets that happen to wander into frame.
The bonus.
Yep, that is at 7:30 on second Tuesdays. The next one is April 11th. The next ADCO is April 13th at 7:30. You can come see how we run the community and what may interest you. Our April chapter educational meeting is on April 20th at 6:30 for networking, program starting at 7 and running until probably 8 or 8:30 so that we can do some questions. April's presentation is going to be run by myself and my mentee Joy on MailChimp as a tool for community engagement.
Yeah, thank you, Julia. So we've got a few slides left to get into a little bit about each of the leadership roles. These are pulling from the responsibilities in our policies and procedures because we want to give you a chance to see a little deeper since we know it was pretty high level. And then after that, I think we'll stop the recording and see if there's any questions. So just at a high level, I've said I'm open to other people being chapter president. I don't want to be president for life, though I really have enjoyed this role. I won't go into each of these, but just broadly, my responsibility is to lead the chapter operationally and from a leadership perspective, to manage expenditures. John's asking me to do 10 more years as president. No, that's just to lull me into a false sense of security. But to be a voice for the chapter, to support all of the committees, to run ADCO meetings, and generally just to be a support. Now I'm hearing 40 years. That was 40 years as an STC volunteer, not as president. Please, someone. I want to see other people have the opportunity to grow. But yeah, and working directly, especially with like the vice president, is one thing that Julie and I work pretty closely together on program planning, because that's one of the educational programs, one of the key things we support. I also help support our awards and recognitions, even though we do also, like I mentioned, look for a membership chair, but it's just broadly being involved in all of the different things that our community has to offer.
And as the vice president, if for any reason the president is unable to perform their duties, I would step up. But currently one of my main roles, one of the main things I do in this role is the program planning, arranging the scheduling, sending emails to presenters or potential presenters, and preparing articles for the newsletter. That's just the high level of what generally I do.
And so much more. Julia is also the most active member in the chapter. I might have mentioned active membership. Julia's wearing one shirt now, but she is come to take my crown as the most active chapter member, and she has pulled it off this year. Short of a terrible accident, there's nothing I can do to stop her from becoming the most active community member this year. I know we have our secretary here, John, but I won't put him on the spot. Our secretary takes the minutes during our ADCO meetings, and, you know, if unavailable, arranges a substitute and shares those with the ADCO members and directors so that we know what we talked about and what we agreed to do. Thank goodness we document. If there's anything else that's correspondence related, that would be the secretary as well. And probably should have mentioned that the members we're mentioning now are voting members. So if we have chapter business that requires a vote, that we have the power to vote. Primarily, we do a lot of consensus building. I don't think we've had a lot of contentious votes in quite a while.
A quick high level of the treasurer. We are very lucky to have WC as our current treasurer. He's done an amazing job. Not sure if he wants to step down anytime soon, but eventually he will. So if anyone is considering, perhaps we can arrange for him to start training you. The earlier, the better. That way he can have a break at some point. The treasurer takes care of chapter accounting, administration, and reporting, both to the chapter leadership and also the overall STC leadership to make sure we're financially on track.
Yeah, we will be sharing these slides, so if you want to read through all of these, they will be available. Our directors at large are a great way to enter a leadership role without having quite as much responsibility as some of the ones we just covered. These are also voting members who could attend ADCO, and they really just provide support for the chapter business, provide ideas, insights, and like I mentioned, key votes on any issues that we might decide. So it's a great plans. That's a chance and a place plants to take kind of, you know, start out in chapter leadership if you want to learn more and you know, not have quite as much responsibility right out of the gate. Right now, Alex Garcia is our director at large. But I believe we are open to having additional directors at large going into the next chapter year, which I may not have mentioned. Our chapter years run from through the summer. So this current chapter year runs through the end of June. And then we have our July where we start our planning in our annual leadership retreat for the following year. So it might be a sort of an unconventional calendar. I realize when we're saying year, we're kind of referring through this July to June cycle.
Yeah. And for the communications committee, there was a completely different process before I stepped into the role. And I decided there were too many complicated, stressful steps, and just decided we're going to completely redefine this. It's going to be as automated as possible so that all I have to do is gather articles, make sure they read well, do any edits with the author as needed, and then push publish, which runs on a rolling schedule. There is no hard due date. We publish when we have something and we don't when we don't. And this goes for all of the committee roles. We are definitely open to letting whoever steps into that role help redefine it. If, for example, someone wants to step in as a communications volunteer, they can help to say, this part of the process could use a little tweak. And I'm definitely open to change.
Yeah, that's a great thing to highlight, that we have been doing things certain ways for years, but especially in the past few years as we move from being a fully in-person organization to sort of 50-50 to fully virtual, that we know we cannot stand still and we need to move with the times, which I'm not really, is a very old-fashioned way to say that we're open to change, but we certainly are. Again, for employment, I talked a little bit about this, just to serve as sort of a point of contact for job opportunities, whether that's from employers, recruiters, agencies who are looking to connect with our members or potentially to share job postings. We do have a process for sending those out through MailChimp to our members when we have something to share, but that's something we've talked about defining differently, and we just have not had the right person who's been able to put the time in to help us build that process out. So you get to report to ADCO. We haven't heard the recording these expenses. We haven't spent anything on our employment share, but we do have budget that we could spend on things. I probably should have mentioned that, that we are open to new ideas if there's something we need to invest in for our community. So employment share is one of those that I think could be a really great role to revolutionize, since it's definitely, our ways of working as technical communicators have changed a lot over time.
And for the recognitions committee, this is basically various awards that we have, like the active member shirts and the STC Florida Spotlight Award, and deciding, okay, who, based on the criteria, should get those.
Mhm.
I think that
That's a good summary.
the
Yeah,
general gist of all these bullet points, which you can read when we shared the presentation.
absolutely. Again, membership, it used to be like checking people in when they came to chapter meetings. We do check people in virtually, but help us keep track of, who are members that we can help support. How are we investing in our community? I actually went to a presentation from the STC Community Affairs Committee, from Lori Meyer today, that was on how communities can help support people who are currently, laid off or in some sort of career transition and due to changes in our economy and especially in the technology sector. So this would be a great position for someone who really kind of has a finger on the pulse for like what people are looking for and how we could support them, because like I said, we're open to change, but we have some things we've been doing the same way for a long time. So we're trying to revisit and revitalize and challenge ourselves. So if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, please let us know.
And I believe our last committee is the website committee, which maintains and updates the chapter websites, archiving pages as needed. The same for the chapter history, recording who's the president, who's the vice president, what awards were given, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
I think that's it.
That's it. So I'm actually going to go ahead and skip the question slide and go to our thanks. So then I'll get through that. We can stop the recording and then we'll come back for questions. So just for the purpose of the recording, thank you for anyone who's watching the recording and for those who have joined us on the call. We appreciate you taking some of your time to learn a bit more about what we think STC and our community can offer, both in leadership and other volunteer opportunities for your career. So if you have any questions, my email is stcbethany@gmail.com. You're always welcome to reach out to me, and I'm happy to help however I can. If I ever don't respond, I'm very sorry. I'm doing my best to keep track of my emails. But you can also find me on LinkedIn, or that's probably the best, email or LinkedIn, lurking on the FTC Discord, other places like that, or on any STC meeting. I am always here, so you're welcome to reach out to me. So I think anything else, Julia, that we should include before I stop the recording?
I don't think so. We'd love to have anyone join as a volunteer or in a leadership role. Thank you so much for watching.